Yes, there's no overlap of characters, except maybe towards the end. And it's all new characters. It's all high fantasy. And because there's no humans involved, or, well, actually, there are kind of. So there's a portal that kind of allows humans to kind of go back and forth a little bit, but only on designated days. But it's not really in the other realms or our realm, so to speak. Um, but yeah, so new characters, mostly just the royal family and a couple of commoners, so to speak, here and there. But yeah, it's pretty great. Do you love the fantasy world or Regency world more? I love them both. Lacey, I love them both. No, actually, the Robbie is her son, of course, and Reddick is the love interest. He is the broody male general, essentially, that has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and they kind of don't like each other when they first meet. Um, she rubs him the wrong way, and he rubs her the wrong way, and they kind of go from there. And they say a lot of hurtful things to each other throughout the the journey. They don't, yeah, 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 definitely got the Witcher vibes to him. He's pretty grumpy, grouchy, but is very protective of those he loves. Um, and as far as Robbie, he's a kid, and you don't really get much of him in the beginning of the book. So we'll see how that goes. Uh, but but yeah, the villain that's presented to us in the beginning is Uratha, and she's kind of a psychopath, which is great. We love a crazy a crazy woman. But yeah, she's fun, a little bit psychotic, and I love her energy. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of villains. So yeah, so book one is Jasmine. Of course, she has no idea who she is, and she's just trying to um, grab onto the one thing that has been hers, that she knows the beginning origin story, and that's her son. And losing him was obviously very, very traumatic for her. So in her search for him, she's more so discovering who she is, and she has these torrent visions, essentially, that haunt her. Uh, and it is like echoes of memories that she has, but she can't grasp onto. A lot of the time, they are really dark, and they kind of consume her, essentially making her believe that she's not worthy of even having Robbie. Um, so she has to kind of get through that and those emotions, and realizing that she's allowed to be happy, and she's allowed to accept the good things that come her way. Um, so the relationship between her and Reddick is a little rocky from the start, but they're able to kind of move past that, and see each other for who they really are, and kind of create a pretty pretty good and non-toxic relationship, that's very that's very honest, and yeah, and very honest and open with communication. I was really big that I did not want to have the miscommunication trope in that book. I wanted them to be really upfront with everything, because Reddick is still suffering from the loss of his destined mate. She kind of left after the war started, and she said she and he could go off together, and he said, "No, I'm staying here. My realm needs me," and she left. And so yeah, and then she ends up being, for what he sees, being killed in a or unalive, whoops, in a raid, um, that was, of course, led by Aratha. And he was devastated, obviously, so he still has that big old chip on his shoulder. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. She is a human, so I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen with the visions, but mostly they're memories that she is remembering, and they happen more frequently when she enters the realm. So she realizes that she has a part in this realm as well, and she's just trying to figure out. what exactly that is. Now, in terms of book two, it's a prequel, so you kind of get more of um, a geography lesson in that. So this is, like I said, the love story of the king and queen, but it is an arranged marriage, and she's essentially a pawn in her father's schemes, and her brother has abdicated the throne. Therefore, her father has no choice but to like sell her off to the prince of the glass territory, and they're from the snow and ice territory, which is the Hava territory,
Mm.
and so she is forced into this arrangement, hopeful though that it could be an arrangement of love, and finds out very quickly that he has a mistress, and he doesn't plan to give her up. And she's kind of devastated because she's lived with her father, who was a tyrant and a terrible person, all of her life, and she was just hoping for some sort of connection. So it's just essentially her trying to heal from past wounds, as well as her brother, because they have both been essentially abused by their father, and so yeah, so it's just the two of them kind of navigating their lives, and her story with Sawyer, who is the prince.
Mm.
So their marriage will basically bind the realm together into one under one nation, and so yeah, he Sawyer is like Lacey said, she can fix him. Yeah, Lacey loves Sawyer. Sawyer's terrible. So much so that my narrator barely wants to narrate his voice.
Oh,
So
dang.
he's awful. So it's essentially his first words to her is saying that he's got a mistress and he's not giving her up. So that's
Wow.
basically the first thing he says to her. And hopefully we can, conceive an heir and not have to do it more than once. So yeah, it's fun.
Sounds a little bit low key like Prince Charles and Princess Diana, like that
It's got
situation.
those vibes for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
But unlike Prince Charles and Princess Diana, he gets better. I
Okay,
promise.
that's good. Now,
Sorry,
this
they're watching the game.
that's okay. The what you just described, the character you were talking about, it's this all takes place in the second book, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to clarify that. And what was her name
Yeah.
again? I don't remember.
I'm sorry, I never said it
Uh,
actually. Her name is Vashti, Princess
Vash-
Vashti.
Vashti.
And the name of the book is The Hearts of Ice and Glass. So,
And she's the main POV we follow in the second book.
yeah, you get both POVs, but we start off the first few chapters with Vashti, and then you split off to Sawyer, and then you get another one sprinkled in there just to kind of round out the whole thing. Because with fantasies, it's kind of I think it's important to kind of give, if you're, especially if you're not doing third person, it's important to kind of give a whole roundabout idea of what's happening and what's going on with everyone that is important to the main characters.
Mhm.
So that's why I kind of dabble in a little extra POVs here and there just to kind of give you some things. Hey, JP, what's going on? But
Awesome.
yeah, so yeah.
Um, Before we move on, I think maybe I have one other question lined up for this series. But is there anything that you could tell us about Robbie? If not, it's okay, but I'm just curious.
No.
No, that's okay. That's okay. In that case, is there anything else that you would want to talk about with the Bellum Realm series that we haven't already discussed?
Book three will be coming out hopefully by the end of the spring, if not beginning of summer. It is basically the end of the Belhem Realm series, and yeah, so uh, it is the continuing story of book one, essentially, of those characters. So those characters come back in book three. And as well as the characters in book two a little bit get dabbled in there. So it's a whole lot converging at once, and it's a lot. So yeah,
Awesome.
send some good writing vibes because I'm about halfway through, and it's pretty emotional. got through some pretty hard parts to get through and had to take a minute to step back away from it to get myself together. Because, characters don't stay forever. And but yeah, so this book has been pretty tough.
Yeah.
Essentially, it is the offspring of the queen, the current queen of the realm, and kind of the youngest son's love story.
Hmm.
Um, Not necessarily his love story, but it's more of that's intertwined in the story. Um, so yeah, it's a lot, and the main culprit is not a being, but an entity rather,
Hmm.
and it is hard to fight, nearly impossible to do so. So sacrifices have to be made, and ultimate journeys have to be ventured on, and so yeah, it's going to be a pretty epic story.
So we find out in the third one that there's like an even bigger, badder boss that they have to
Yeah,
beat. Okay,
yeah.
nice.
Who's kind of pulling the strings of all of his little minions, or its minions, I guess, not his.
Perfect. In that case, we will move on to your second series, which I believe is called the Carter Sisters, correct?
Uh huh. Yep.
Perfect. And that one, they're coming out with a third book that's about to debut for that one.
Yeah.
Is that coming out before the third book in the Bellum Realm series?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the funny story is the Carter Sisters series wasn't initially in the works at all. It was the Audacity of Flower was supposed to be like kind of a palate cleanser for myself, because I was still working on book three and it was pretty intense, and I had just finished book two, and I decided to wipe book three completely and start over, and so it was just a lot. So I took a break, and I decided, hey, you know what? Let's dive into something that I love a lot, and
Mm,
that's Regency. Um, I'm not much for research or making sure everything is perfect, so I decided, you know what? I'm a fantasy author, so I'm going to make this a fantasy world. Of course, there's no magic. There's no. It's just Regency essentially,
mm,
that is set in a different world altogether. It's not
I see.
Earth, but it is Earth,
Hmm.
Everything's renamed, everything is so I can do whatever I want essentially. So I didn't have to like follow to a key, like, it's not Regency, calm down. So get off me, historian buffs. So but yeah, so that's why I did that.
Sort of like Carnival
And
Row, but without all the like the mythical characters.
Right. There's no mythical characters at all. It's more Bridgerton vibes, more than anything,
Mm,
without explicit stuff. It's just romance. It's not anything explicit. It's very sweet, cozy reads. Not little novellas, but novellas nonetheless.
perfect. We will loop back around to the third one in a minute, but I wanted to
Hmm.
build up to that.
Yeah.
Let's see here, one second. Okay, so the first book in the Carter Sisters series is
Hmm.
the
I'm
Audacity of
sorry.
Flower. That's okay. They're
I'm
having a
really
lot of
excited.
fun over there.
Yeah, it's my
Uh,
son and my husband. They're Niners fans, so
mhm.
they're
I
just really into it.
apparently California is the only state rooting for them, so they need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
Um, the the series starts off, from what you told me, with a woman who is forced to leave her job as a servant and finds uh, employment with a Mr. Lewis Yoon,
Hmm.
who and I want to know, who are these characters, what are their
All right.
backgrounds, and what circumstances forces the main protagonist to leave her previous job.
So the Audacity Flower, yeah, Audacity Flower follows Poppy. She is a young woman who has grown up in the Mudrum Manor, and she essentially has been in love with the master's son all of her life. And but she knows there's a line that you just don't cross, and she will just have an unrequited love and move on with her life. So she's and very upright, very proper. She does not want to, cross any lines or anything like that. However, he crosses the line and makes inappropriate passes and does certain things that she finds completely just unacceptable.
Mm.
So she takes it upon herself to leave because she just doesn't want to exist in that situation. Sorry.
That's
and
okay.
and so she decides to leave. Her family is all there, so she's like, I'm sorry, but I have to. I have to go. She doesn't tell them everything that went down because she doesn't want to cause any rifts. Like I said, she's very proper, very upright, and so she leaves and gets a job working as a servant for Master Lewis Allen Yun. That's his whole name.
Mm.
And she finds herself, strangely attracted to him. But again, she's like, what am I doing? I can't cross those boundaries. But he kind of tries to make her cross those boundaries in a different way than Homeboy before. Um,
Makes it more
he's
like of an
very,
invitation, probably.
yeah, he's not kind of, pushing her into it kind of thing. But not expecting her to be a mistress, so
Hmm.
to speak. So it is essentially just their love story and little twists and turns here and there, but nothing high stakes or anything like that. So it's a nice, cozy read for a quiet afternoon. And it's real sweet and very innocent and just, yeah, I enjoy the story, just reading it just for my own self because I love stuff like that. So it makes me happy.
Lacey asks,
How did I
how'd you
come
come
up
up with
with
the
the
name?
name? So, Lacey knows the story. So the name came about. My friend Hannah and I were talking with my husband, and we were talking about allergies, and I was talking about how I have really bad allergies during the spring, and I said it's such the audacity of a flower, and then we all like, that's a name of a book, and then that was the end of that. So, yeah, that's how we come up with names in this house
That
randomly.
sounds fun. Um,
But yeah.
you talked about how the son of the first household that she's a part of comes on too strong to her, and that's why she
Hmm.
leaves. Does he follow her to this other man's house, and does that become a problem?
He doesn't follow her, but he does come up later.
Mm.
And there's a little tussle here and there. But yeah, so he definitely comes back. He doesn't do well, but he comes back.
I get the sense
But
that
yeah, it's great.
maybe he's the type of person who has like he overcompensates, probably feels like he needs to be in control a lot. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely has like that complex going on for him. So
Little man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Is the hold on one second. Let me just see. Okay, so the next question concerns the second book, but is there anything
Mhm.
else that you would like to expound upon with the audacity of flowers before we move on?
Just that Poppy is really family oriented. Her family is really important to her, and even though she doesn't tell them all the details that go on with her life, they're very, very close. And that's what I love about this dynamic. Mother, father, daughters, and son. So there's four kids. There's an older son, Poppy, her younger sister, which is what Pride of Princess is about, as her story, and then the youngest is Freddie, and he's like the oopsie daisy baby, so he's like young, young. He's about 5 in this story, so yeah. Um, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Anyway, yeah. So he or she adores her family and wants to make sure that she does right by them and
Hmm.
all that she does. Um, so yeah, so it's a very very good kind of really wholesome situation. Like all the siblings love each other, and as crazy as each one can be, there's definitely love involved in each one of them. So
So there's two sisters and a brother with the Carter
and two
sisters.
sisters and two brothers. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
there's four of them all together. There's an older brother, Poppy, Dinah, and Freddie. So there's four of them.
Well, not that this would particularly interest me, but I know there would be people who would. I would just be curious, is there going to be like a Carter Brothers books that come out?
I have been asked that. I don't know. Like I said, the Carter sisters was never meant to be in the first place, so I don't know. I'm never going to say no, but I have no plans to make that happen right now.
Open to
So
the idea.
yeah, yeah, um, they all have background stories. I mean, that's just how I have it in my head. But yeah, the older brother's love story is prominent in Audacity of Flower. Because she gets to meet his fiance and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So, we kind of get glimpses of them here and there too. So,
So we do get to see kind of into the lives of the other siblings in each book,
yeah,
but it always focuses on one of them.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
All right. Well, moving on to the second book in the Carter Sisters series, which I believe it's a Christmas Carol parody in a way, and it was
yeah.
called
The
The
humbug of the holiday.
Humbug of the Holiday. Tell us a little bit about that
Yeah.
one.
So I wanted to write a Christmas book, and I wrote one. So I basically used one of my favorite Christmas stories, of course, the Christmas Carol, but I flipped it a little bit. So the it's not that she hates Christmas; it's that she loves it too much, and she goes overboard
Mhm.
and drives everybody else crazy. And thank you so much for the gifts. Um, yeah, so she drives everybody else crazy, and she kind of does the exact same thing and starts pushing people away because of her intensity. So it's Poppy, and it's just kind of the continuing story of her during the Christmas season, and it's a little bit mystical, like because of it's got the Christmas Carol elements, kind of Ghost of Christmas Past, but it's not like three ghosts that come visit her throughout the night. It's a singular um, ghost that kind of haunts her a little bit throughout the night and shows her different aspects of her life that need to change in order to
She needs to
avert
calm
the
down
path
about
that she is
Christmas.
on. Yeah, she needs to calm her butt down and chill out.
Hmm.
It's a little much. So yeah, she's become a little eager beaver and just overdoes everything to the point where she's kind of disregarding her family just to make a show of things. So yeah, so that's what that one's about.
It's, that's awesome. You already did kind of talk about this a little bit with your first
Mhm.
answer, but is there anything else that makes your story unique from what the story is kind of inspired by, which is a Christmas Carol?
Right. Like I said, like it's the opposite end of the Christmas Carol, and essentially taking um her she's losing her family. She has this really really big family and source of love and and protection from for her, but she's doing so much that she's actually pushing them away. So she's I'm just basically showing that too much of a good thing can ultimately result in the same thing.
100%
So
yes. Sometimes people don't
thanks,
know what to do
Sarah.
with all the love or affection or whatever.
Yeah, so she's doing too much.
Mhm. So I guess that's what is mainly encompassed by what the ghost shows her, or are there other things
Yeah.
in particular?
Yeah, I mean her family, of course, she tries to tell Sarah. Thank you, love. Yeah, so her family try to tell her husband and all that stuff, and they try to let her know that, hey, take it down a notch. But she doesn't listen. So it comes to a point where her future becomes, you know, in jeopardy essentially because of how she's continuing on.
Hmm.
Because she's disregarding everybody and their feelings. So that's when the ghost comes into play to kind of guide her back on the right path and go there. And it's a really short, cute read, and it's you can read it in an hour or two, and yeah, so it's just really sweet.
Nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
family oriented.
anything else that you'd want to say about that one?
It's they're all available.
They're
I mean, that's
out
it.
there, you could just figure
Hey,
it out.
Jalen.
Um, okay, so for the one that we've all been anticipating, which is the Pride of Princess, the one that's going to be coming
Mm-hmm.
out sooner rather than later. Tell us about that
Right.
story.
The Pride of Princess. Oh, it is very fresh in my mind. I just finished doing some major edits on it, so here we are. So the Pride of Princess is about her younger sister Dinah, Poppy's younger sister Dinah. Her nickname is Princess. Same with Poppy. Her nickname is Flower. Um, so Dinah's nickname is Princess because she is a bit of a she doesn't think she needs to do things, and she has the affinity for the finer things in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so she is now living with her sister and her husband and everything. I mean, it's not a surprise. Happily ever after in all my books. So here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So spoiler alert. Anyway, so she is a lot different from her sister. So this book was a little harder for me to write. Um, Less is not more for her. More is more.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very, she's intense. Uh, she's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas Poppy is, really respectful and pious and, really proper, Dinah's like, hey, what's up? It's me. And she talks in run on sentences and she just has to describe all the things that she sees. And she's just a lot. Yeah, so she's really great. So I think I think what the problem was writing her is Poppy is me now and Dinah was me in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was kind of hard to go back and try to figure that out again. And but yeah, yeah, she is definitely just trying to find her way in the world. It essentially starts off with her family being really concerned that she's now 22 and literally acts like she has no desire to do anything, has no aspirations of any kind. She just kind of wanders around and daydreams. And so they're saying that, we need you to do something, whether it's get married or do that, whatever. We don't care at this point. We just want you to do something. We want you to want something.
Mm-hmm.
So they send her off with a family friend who is mentioned in the first book. And she's an old family friend to all of them. And she is acts of as a companion of sorts for her and travels the world with her. Um, so she's has this unrequited love, again another unrequited love, we love those, with her brother-in-law's best friend and business partner, and he does not even realize she's around. He's like, hey, you barely exist in my eyes. Yeah, so she's hoping that maybe all of this will, you know, hopefully tantalize him and make him want her in some kind of way. But then she finds herself amongst a whole bunch of different characters and different cultures, and she finds a young man that she starts to have an attraction for, and then she thinks, okay, so that's the man I want to marry. Um, and her old unrequited love comes back in the picture again, unbeknownst to him. He has no idea what's going on. She kind of manipulates him into fake dating her to make this other guy jealous,
Oh, because he's
so
not
to
interested
speak.
in her initially.
He's just not. The
Sounds like a
other
smart
guy
man.
is, but he says that he's not one that would be tied down.
Mm,
However, he is prone to jealousy. So she figures if she makes him jealous enough, that he will come a running. Of course, again, she is flighty and silly and has no sense whatsoever, and it's great. Um, yeah, so we do a Regency style fake dating situation, and of course, people catch feelings in that situation. So yeah, so that it's just it's again low stakes. There are twists and turns that happen, and the family do again very strong familial bond, and even though she's a little bit a flippity gibbet, her and her family are very close
hmm
still, and she loves her sister dearly and her brothers as well. So yeah, so it is just her crazy journey into womanhood,
hmm
and essentially growing up and getting over herself.
It it's just probably the way you're describing it, but I'm curious, is it actually like a romance comedy or is it more serious?
Oh no! I mean, there's definitely funny elements, and you find yourself laughing at her craziness and her antics, and like, oh my god, I can't even like breathe saying these sentences because she just keeps going on and on and on. So like, yeah, so it's more leaning towards comedy more so than Audacity of Flower, just because of how she is. She's very just, she's a trip.
Sounds like
So
it, yeah. It sounds like
yeah.
she could have used the ghost of Christmas Past or whatever from the second one, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right.
But yeah, she has a good fairy godmother of sorts to help her
Oh,
out.
okay. Well, at
So
least she has that.
yeah.
You already explained a lot about that book, but just in case, is there anything else
Yeah.
you would like to say about it?
Um as crazy as Dinah is, she does at the core of it have a very good heart,
Mm,
and she just wants to be loved like anybody else. I believe I dedicated it to those of us who have the flair for drama. You know, we deserve love too. So
hmm.
that's that's her. Um, even though she is selfish in her dealings initially, she learns to put others before herself and kind of move forward from that.
She learns reciprocation.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's important.
Well, that is a good segue to one of our next questions, which is more
Mhm.
broad and applies to all of your stories.
Okay.
Are there any morals or what is it that you want your audience to walk away from after they read your books?
Um, So the core of all of my books is love. And I don't mean that in a romance kind of way. I mean that just love of family, love of friendship. There's a lot of found family aspects going on in my books. Um yeah, so the like I said, it's always the underlying theme is always love. Making sure that you keep it in your circle,
Hmm.
whether that be with your family or friendship or relationships. It should always be at the core of everything that you do.
100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that applies to every book you would say, or is there like specific messages you incorporate into individual books?
The individual books, I mean, that's the overall
Hmm.
theme for all of them, I guess. But the individual books, book one in the Belham Realm series is definitely strong mama vibes.
Hmm.
She she's a mother first and foremost, and you feel that turmoil that she goes through, you know, losing her son and everything like that, and just the ups and downs and roller coaster of motherhood. um and so that is her strong point, that is she is strong without the man, you
Hmm.
know. And book two is is the underlying theme is you deserve healing. Hey cat, healing is so very important in this
100%.
journey. And so both the brother and the sister, prince and princess, both find healing in that book,
Hmm.
beyond their abusive situation, and just even healing from themselves, and what they put themselves through because of what they went through as children. Um, so having that forgiveness for your own self as well,
Hmm.
um, and then allowing others to come in, and not putting those walls up so high that nobody can break them down.
Hmm.
Um, so that's definitely out of book two. And as far as the Carter sister series, it's they're both coming of age stories essentially, and in different ways going about things. Whereas Poppy took the more truthful, honest path.
Hmm.
Dinah goes a little manipulation and stuff. Poor dear. And but at the heart of it, their family was the center of everything. Everything good that happened to them, it was their family at the center, that making sure that they were okay, that they were in a good headspace. They all have like this coming together talk, like making sure that everybody is okay, that just so they know that they're supported, and that they have this foundation with their family. So I think all my books, center around family in some kind of way, and how the family is there to support you and lift you up,
Hmm.
whether it's the friends you make or the family you're born with. So
Hmm. I loved specifically what you said about like you emphasize in the hero's journey healing and like recovery and letting people in and things like that because
yeah,
you put it in the context of the hero's journey, but if you broaden that and say like philosophically, I guess, most
right,
people could say as an individuals they are the heroes of their own lives, their own stories, and that should
right,
that should be the pursuit of everybody, and because it's not just something you do and then everything's great. It's a lifelong
right.
commitment. So the
Daily
sooner you
journey.
start it, the better off you're going to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see here. We talked about messages. We talked about that. Established. So this one, I might have talked about it a little bit already with what you mentioned about motherhood, but are there are any of the characters or circumstances in your story based off of real life experiences or people that you've known or gone through in your life?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely unintentional. You kind of write with what you know, especially when you're a pantser. You kind of just like write, and then you realize later, like, oh, my bad. Like
Hmm.
I wrote about myself, or I wrote about that guy, or just whatever. But yeah, they definitely. Hi, Tanya. Hey, Rochelle. Yeah, I definitely did not expect to write about myself on purpose,
Mm.
but I did in every single one of my books in some kind of way. Um, uh, the the mother, Jasmine in the first book is loosely based off of myself, obviously, and her son, her connection with her son. Um, I have a son who
Hmm.
is the same age as Robbie was when he disappeared,
Mm.
and so I was just kind of putting myself in her shoes and how I would have felt and dealt with it. Um, and Reddick is reminiscent, like, yes, aesthetically, and some of his characteristics are that of Henry Cavill in The Witcher, but his the things that he said and did and how he acted was a lot like my husband. Um, so very stoic, very just flatline with how he does things,
Hmm.
and but
Monotone.
very much love for his family, and all the people that he cares about. He makes sure he protects and is there for. So is very reminiscent of who my husband is as a person. Um, and like just the family dynamic in all my books is essentially my family. Um, like my mom and dad are just still in love with each other, and I have siblings, a brother and a sister, who are both married with kids, and so it's just like that kind of love dynamic that we have. I kind of let that influence um, everybody in there, and then there is a sprinkle of people I've met along the way, and just kind of absorbing all of those around me and just kind of planting them here and there within the storylines.
Hmm. Celtic kind of chimed in and made it a very good point that like the fact that you do have incorporations of yourself and others in your life is what makes your characters so amazing. I
Oh,
think that's like spot on in terms of like what's what writers and authors should strive for when writing character because then that makes
yeah,
the characters more relatable. They go through similar
yeah,
struggles and it's authentic.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Vashti is definitely my bougie side of things. And but the healing that she has to go through, again, unintentional. I wrote this, um, just pulling back from things that I went through in my past, not realizing that it was going to come out in that book. But yeah, so she most definitely dealt with things the way I did, and kind of blocking people out, and
Who
so
is the
yeah.
farm girl? Who is the farm
The
girl
farm
side?
girl
What was
side,
it?
that's Gemma in book two. That's my farm girl side in
Oh.
book two of the Home Real series.
Yes.
My farm girl side. No, yeah, I have a small farm, so so that's what. So I have a livestock guardian dog,
Hmm,
and his name's Ronan, but that's Dover is based off of Ronan. He's a big white fluffy dog, so that's who I
nice.
base it off of, and he's the protector of the farm. So
Sounds like he does a good job if he's able to be incorporated in a book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But people ask why I just didn't use his name. I'm like, I don't know. It's just I didn't, but it's based off of him. My friend Sai said he's a man in a dog costume, and I can't change his mind because he's about 5 foot standing on his hinds, so he's pretty
Dang.
big.
So he's like one of those big dogs where, like, even if he's on
Yeah,
all fours, he's probably up to your waist.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much, he's huge. Um, yes, I do. I will be narrating my books. I mean, I've said this many times before, but like with Sean Chaucy, he will be co-narrating book one with me of the Belham Realm series. He's going to be Reddick, so that'll be fun.
All right. Before we move on and have you share your synopsises with us, is there anything
Mm-hmm.
else that you would like to say about any of your books at all?
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
All right.
Huh.
Then, if you are ready, go ahead and share. I believe you had two synopses.
I did. Which ones was I going to do? Did I tell you?
You shared them with me in the email. I
I
can
did?
I can resend them to you because you wrote them
Okay.
out. Yeah, it's
I
good.
did. Oh, did I DM them or I emailed them to you?
You emailed them, but I can forward it
Okay.
back. Just give me a couple
Yeah.
minutes here.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible at this.
That's okay. I'm still learning a lot too on my own when doing this sort of thing. Okay, gonna log in. Okay, we're gonna go to interviews, and you should be right there. And we're gonna. Okay, I think I have you saved. Yes, to you. And just this synopsis. Go
Thanks, T. Thank you, Tanya.
bottom. All right, all right, just sent that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There you are. Okay, so yeah, this is yeah, these are the synopses of all three of the books. So I all three of the series, or two of the series rather. Um and am I reading the excerpts as well? Oh my god, these are confusing.
Sorry, no, you don't need to do the synopsises like the descriptions of the books, but the excerpt is what I meant to say. That's my bad.
Oh, okay, okay. So I can do Hearts of Ice and Glass right now. Actually, let me do Pride of Princess. Well, no, I won't do Pride of Princess. I'll do Hearts of Ice and Glass. Sorry.
That's okay.
Here we go. Uh, sighing, I stare out the window to watch the sunset over the snow-covered mountains. The sky is painted purple and orange as the final lights of the day fade beyond the mountain range. Suddenly, Sora clears his throat. So, his deep, thick voice sends a thrill through my body, and I gasp at the sound of it, yearning to hear it once again. You are Vashti, then? My focus snaps at him incredulously. Who else would I be? He scoffs and shrugs. I suppose you are right. Finally, he examines me with those intense copper eyes. It sends a jolt through my system of how focused they are. And, of course, you are Sawyer, I say tentatively, a smile tugging at my lips. He creases his brow, inspecting me. You're quite the meek little thing, aren't you? He critiques. I stiffen at his assessment before turning my nose from him. Not in the slightest, I argue, my tone curt and annoyed. How dare he make such assumption? He knows nothing about me. I sweep my attention back to him, and he slouches back into his seat with a rueful smile spreading across his lips. He puts his hands up in surrender. Forgive me, Your Highness. That was out of turn, he concedes, licking his lips in amusement. He examines me for a beat longer, and I grow exceedingly uncomfortable. Do you like what you see or not? I snap, unable to take the awkward assessment any longer. His eyebrow quirks up, and he shrugs his shoulders nonchalantly. It could be worse. My brow creases in anger. I turn my head away from him. Silently I pout. His words circle in my head. It could be worse. Inhaling deeply, he rubs his hands down his thighs and directs his attention to me, leaning forward in a huff. I jump back at the intrusion, my eyes wide. See here. We are in this situation, and I assume neither of us wants to be here. He eyes me expectantly, his arms open, awaiting my response. I assess him skeptically for a moment. Then my gaze softens, and I nod once without a word. Good. So then we must do what we must to get through it. He sits back, biting his lower lip, appearing unsure of his next words. I watch him intently and await what more he wants to say. His eyes snap to mine as he murmurs, I have someone back home, and it is best you know this now. I will not leave her. She will be my mistress. Is that understood? The ice around my heart screeches and squeals as the words permeate my ears. I'm sorry? I ask in confusion. I have a mistress whom I care for. She is not my mate, but she is the one I choose. But don't worry, we will produce an heir. Your time can be your own after that. I will not inquire of what you do with your time, so as long as you do not inquire after mine. He states matter-of-factly, as if the words that come out of his mouth don't tear at the very fabric of all things decent and moral. The very line of propriety I was brought up on was unravelling so quickly I didn't know where to place my footing. A mistress, I stutter. Yes, she will have a room in the palace. He sucks in his lip and looks at me up and down. You are all right with this, aren't you? No need for both of us to be unhappy in this arrangement. We can get through it. We just have to be creative. He speaks as though this arrangement benefits us both, for my world is crumbling around me. How can he think I will be all right with this? Why can't he see this goes against everything I've ever known to be true? I thought that we would be just us. I turn away from him, embarrassed. I've never been with anyone. I don't like knowing you'll be with another. How would people see their future queen? I would be a joke to them, a laughing-stock. My lower lip quivers, but I will it to cease. My eyes focus on him, and he considers my words as the carriage comes to a sudden halt. He runs a hand along his jaw and glares up at me. You have no choice in this matter. My word is final. He growls, throwing open the carriage door, and jumps out, leaving a heavy silence hanging in the air. I am left stunned and alone. I fight for air as I am suddenly being suffocated. How could father match me with such a despicable character, a man void of any compassion or care? He thought it best to tell me about his affair. I wish he had never mentioned it, to be ignorant of his indiscretions. but he forcefully threw it all of them in my face, and I hate him for it. My heart feels so heavy, like a solid block of ice in my chest. But then I think of his heart, forged of glass, unbreakable in this realm, and as lifeless as any other element.
Bravo. Really, really bravo. I've That's the first time I've heard or like read a modern book being like written like that so well for the time. Very good.
Thanks. Thank you.
And then which other was it from the first Bellum Realm series book or
The second one I gave you was from Pride of Princess.
okay,
Um,
so that one was from the Bellum Realm.
that one was Ice Hearts of Ice and Glass. That's book two.
Okay.
And that was Vashti. And the right after she and Sawyer got married or bonded, as I call it in there. And yeah, so uh, he's kind of a jerk.
It sounds like it,
So,
yeah. A little
he's
bit of
pretty
a
terrible.
deceptive.
Yeah, a little bit. He's awful. Oh my god! Thank you guys for all the
Oh yeah, they were
gifts.
all
Oh my
going
god.
crazy.
Oh man, I'm so bummed I missed them. I'm sorry, but thank you guys. So this is the unedited version of because I just edited it and I don't have my tablet, my other tablet. This one's not connected to my Word document. So anyway, this is very, very much unedited. So I just want to stress
I'm sure it will sound amazing.
that. Okay, here we go. Mamma sighs, an air of frustration mingling with her exhalation. As she shakes her head, she tenderly places a hand on my shoulder. Dinah, she murmurs, she intends to take you along as her companion. Me? I gasp, my hand instinctively finding its place on my chest. The mere thought of it renders me breathless, for it had always been my most fervent dream, my deepest yearning to explore the world beyond the confines of my cherished books, to behold with eyes the wonder and marvels that had until now remained but ethereal fantasies. And you would be truly all right in my absence? I query, my voice laced with a mixture of hope and trepidation. I peer into my mother's eyes, desperately trying to gauge her true sentiments. Surely she wouldn't dangle this extraordinary opportunity before me like a shimmering lure, only to snatch it away. Her countenance softens, the creases of worry on her brow easing as she deftly folds the letter and tucks it back into the sanctuary of her pocket. I shall not deceive you, my dear, she begins, her voice infused with contemplation. The contents of her letter took me aback. However, after lengthy deliberation with your father, we have concluded this may indeed be the most favourable course for a young, unmarried woman such as yourself to embark upon. Mrs. Bradford, a woman of utmost integrity, boasts of an expansive network of connections spanning the globe. This extraordinary opportunity could serve as a catalyst for your discovery of your true path and flourish in a realm that is both secure and enriching. As she studies me intently, her gaze sweeping over my form, she nibbles nervously on a lip, as if contemplating the weight of her words and the potential repercussions they may hold. My darling, she finally continues, her voice tender, your father and I have noticed a certain restlessness within you as of late, as if you are floundering. She finally relays, the tension building in her shoulders. Floundering? In what manner? I cautiously distance myself from her, my footsteps faltering as I reach out to pluck a succulent peach from the kitchen table. My fingers graze the velvety skin, seeking solace in its tactile presence, while attempting to fend off the searing impact of Mamma's critical evaluation. Since we've moved here, your demeanour has exhibited a noticeable state of aimlessness, and we hope this excursion might offer you a chance to discover a semblance of purpose, beacon to guide you forward. Perhaps it would liberate you from your mind from its lofty wanderings. Mamma, I inquire, a tinge of hurt colouring my voice, do you and Papa consider me vapid? A sense of vulnerability laces my words. I acknowledge the stark contrast between my aspirations and those of my siblings, Jonah and Poppy. Even young Freddie possesses dreams of joining the esteemed royal guard. But as for me, my desires are singular, focused solely on capturing the attention of Silas Adamus. I yearn for him to perceive me not merely as an impulsive young girl, but as a woman with depth, thoughts, and emotions, and to share a love with him of those in my books.
I know that one was from the book that's about to debut, but
Yeah.
um, is is the Bellum Realm series audiobooks, are there any of those that have been released yet?
No, they will be. I am actually have a meeting with my narrator next week to kind of finalize when we will be doing everything. But yeah, he and I will be doing the Houses of Glass and Night first, and hopefully have that out by the end of the year. So,
I might save myself just to wait for that because it's you do a really good job of just narrating. Of
thank you, thank you.
course. Well, that's pretty much all I had planned.
All right.
Aside from what I was gonna say to close it, did you have any final statements or anything you'd like to give?
I have not really. I mean, I do have the so I have started. I'm sorry, I'm just stuttering here, but I have started doing character art. So I did my character art for all of my people. So if you want to see, so I have a new cover for Pride of Princess that I did,
Hmm.
and I will show you the art for that I finished up.
Is it the one that's this or?
No,
Oh,
those were bought.
okay.
So I wanted to do it myself and change it up. So that is them right there. So that will be
Oh,
on the same looking cover, but just
hmm,
them replacing it.
nice.
So yeah,
And since you do character design, like you draw all those out, do you also sell merch for your books as well?
I do. I it's on my the little branches that exist on the thing that we're not allowed to say on lives
Oh,
apparently.
okay.
Uh,
I did not know that.
but yeah, that thing.
It's over there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's over there. You guys know where to find it. But that it is there, both for the art commissions and for all of my merch and everything like that. So yeah, I definitely got merch. It's on there.
And
Sweatshirts, t-shirts, mugs, notebooks, all of that.
and where can people find your books if they're interested in reading them?
The all of the books are available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and Kindle. Book one of the Belham Realm series is available on KU. And most of my books are on the TikTok shop. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Well,
I will also be at the Sealy Soiree April 13th in Louisiana. I have several book signings coming up, and I will also be an author at Sinful Signings in September. So
you said April 13th?
April 13th is
Oh,
the Sealy Soiree, and Sinful Signings is the end of September, I believe.
okay. I
So yeah, I'll be one of the authors there.
I just asked because that's the date of my birthday, so I was like, oh,
Oh, really? My
yeah.
husband's birthday is the 14th, so
Oh, nice.
we're gonna make a trip of it.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you so much, TL, for coming on. I think I've told you
Bye,
before,
cat.
but when I first came onto TikTok, you were one of the first people that like I started following and saw, and
Oh,
I saw how much you like strive to like support other indie authors, and a lot of what I'm doing right now was very much inspired by you. So I'm
oh,
honored to have
awesome.
interviewed you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, James. Like, I had a good time.
Okay. No problem. And if you ever come out with any more books, we can schedule another one. Oh, Sorry, that
Sweet deal.
sounds good.
There you
All
go.
right. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, y'all.
Bye.
All right, thank you, you too. Bye bye. Thanks for having me on.